Over a dozen people are dead and many more injured after terrorists opened fire into an Australian Hanukkah celebration.
We have 2 definite offenders. I cannot confirm there is a 3rd offender, but I want to make sure there's no stone left unturned.
The tragedy follows a deadly attack on American soldiers in Syria.
We had 3 great patriots terminated by bad people, and not the Syrian government, it was ISIS.
I'm Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. It's Monday, December 15th. This is Morning Wire.
The hunt for the gunman continues in the deadly Brown University shooting that killed 2 and injured several more.
And a judge orders Kilmar Abrego Garcia to be released and bars ICE from redetaining the alleged human smuggler.
It's too bad that we have these activist judges that legislate from the bench and put MS-13 gang members back out on the streets.
Thanks for waking up with Morning Wire. Stay tuned. We have the news you need to know.
Have you ever heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site that celebrates the best of America by shipping our country's most iconic food from legendary restaurants straight to your door anywhere in the USA. It's perfect for hosting loved ones and is truly a magical, unforgettable gift, making this holiday season one that they'll talk about for years. Get iconic restaurant meals delivered nationwide through our sponsor, Goldbelly. I love the variety of choices that you can get with Goldbelly. I've gotten Lou Malnati's authentic Chicago-style pizza, plus some amazing bagels from New York City. But this holiday season, I'm steering towards something a little more sweet. At Goldbelly, they've got choices galore for desserts. And I've got my eye on a Christmas pie cakin' from the famous New York bakery by the same name and Guy Fieri's holiday trash nachos. So if you're looking for that perfect gift for everyone on your list or want to impress your friends and family with an unforgettable meal and make hosting a breeze this holiday season, head over to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code WIRE. That's goldbelly.com, code WIRE for 20% off your first order.
Over a dozen people are dead and many more are injured after a terror attack in Australia targeted a Hanukkah celebration.
Daily Wire senior editor Cabot Phillips has the latest on this horrific scene, as well as a separate attack on American troops in Syria. Hey, Cabot, so let's start with this devastating news out of Australia that broke yesterday. What do we know so far?
Yeah, on Sunday, hundreds of people, most of them Jewish, had gathered at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia to celebrate the start of Hanukkah. That is when 2 men, reportedly motivated by Islamic extremism, opened fire with rifles. They killed at least 15 people and wounded more than 24 others in the largest single attack on Jews since October 7th, 2023. Among the victims were a prominent rabbi in the community, as well as a 12-year-old girl. Witnesses said it was clear that the men were not just shooting at everyone, but again, specifically targeting beachgoers who were visibly Jewish. As the gunman poured shot after shot into the crowd, a heroic bystander took matters into his own hands. Stunning video from the scene shows an unarmed man creeping towards the gunman from behind a row of cars. He gets within a few feet and then leaps on one of the terrorists, wrestling the rifle away from him. For our audience watching on Daily Wire, here is that incredible footage. And even more incredible, that heroic bystander, who was himself a local Muslim man, was reportedly shot twice in the process, but still managed to disarm the gunman, and thankfully he is expected to make a full recovery. Ultimately, one of the terrorists was killed by authorities responding to the scene, while the other was also shot and taken into custody. He's now in the hospital in what authorities call life-threatening condition. Authorities say they also found what appeared to be a number of improvised explosive devices in the car of the suspect who was killed. Thankfully, they did not go off, and bomb technicians were able to dispose of them safely. Here's Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese reacting to the attack.
This is a targeted attack on Jewish Australians on the first day of Hanukkah, which should be a day of joy, a celebration of faith, an act of evil anti-Semitism, terrorism that has struck the heart of our nation.
For his part, President Trump told Jewish Americans Sunday that they are safe here and should respond to this attack, quote, by celebrating Hanukkah proudly. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was understandably outraged by the attack and did place some of the blame on Australian leaders, whom he accused of being silent over the last few years amid growing anti-Semitism there. Now, according to a number of reports from Israel, authorities there are investigating right now to see whether these gunmen had been coordinating with Iran or potentially other terrorist organizations. a big part of the story there that they wanted to get to the bottom of.
Indeed. Now, sadly, this wasn't the only Islamic attack this weekend. The U.S. also directly impacted. Tell us what happened in Syria.
Yeah, on Saturday, a lone gunman ambushed a group of American service members engaged in counterterrorism operations in Syria. The gunman, who the White House says was an ISIS member, killed 2 American service members and also their American translator. He also wounded 5 others, including 3 more Americans. And even more disturbing, according to numerous reports, the gunman, who was thankfully killed at the scene, was a, quote, ISIS infiltrator. He was actually working as part of a government security detail that day. Here's Trump addressing the tragedy from the White House.
This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones.
And that statement was followed up by another Truth Social post in which the president vowed that, quote, there will be very serious retaliation. Obviously, we're still waiting to see what that will look like, but there's a good chance we see targeted airstrikes against ISIS strongholds or ISIS leadership throughout Syria. We'll keep a very close eye on what that retaliation looks like.
And Trump has not been shy about very aggressive responses to these kinds of situations. Kevin, thanks for reporting.
Absolutely.
This episode is sponsored by Vanta. Customer trust can make or break your business. And as your business grows and scales, the security and compliance tools you rely on inevitably become more complex and harder to manage. Without the right systems in place, managing security and compliance can quickly spiral into chaos. And chaos isn't a security strategy. That's precisely where Vanta comes in. Think of Vanta as your always-on, AI-powered security expert that grows alongside your business, no matter what stage you're in. Vanta takes the complexity out of compliance by automating the tedious processes, continuously monitoring your security controls in real time, and providing you with a single unified source of truth for all your compliance and risk management needs. So whether you're a startup like Cursor, racing to scale, or an established enterprise like Snowflake, managing sophisticated security requirements, Vanta integrates seamlessly into your existing workflows. That means your team can focus on what they do best, building and growing, while maintaining the robust security posture that earns and keeps your customers' trust. Get started at vanta.com/morningwire. That's VANTA.com/morningwire.
2 Brown University students are dead after a gunman opened fire inside a classroom on Saturday.
Daily Wire reporter Tim Pierce is here with the latest on the shooting. So, Tim, this was a harrowing situation that took place over 12 hours on Brown campus on Saturday. Can you walk us through what happened?
Yeah, this was a horrifying incident that lasted all throughout Saturday night and into Sunday morning. It began around 4 in the afternoon on Saturday. A gunman entered Brown University's Barris and Hawley Engineering Building, killed 2 students, and injured 9 others while they were studying for an economics final. The gunman initially seemed to get away from law enforcement. Students sheltered in their dorms and classrooms, wherever they thought that they could find a safe space. Brown tennis player Chloe Chin locked herself in a closet for hours.
It was just insane. Like, I was playing tennis and I had to hide it in literally our ball closet with 4 other people. It was so scary. We were in there for 4 hours.
Brown University sent a couple of alerts out over an active shooter on campus. Around 6:30 in the evening, authorities held their first press conference. Information was limited. They said 2 people were dead and the shooter had not yet been found. Over the next few hours, Brown continues to warn students to stay sheltered. At 9:30, authorities gave a second press conference, and Providence Mayor Brett Smiley confirmed that the attack wounded 9 and killed 2. Police released a video of a man dressed in dark clothing who they say is a person of interest in the attack. At around 11, police began to evacuate non-residential buildings around the university. Brown senior Ben Marcus said he stayed up all night transferring students.
We've been awake all night, shuttling students back and forth to their dorms, to their apartments from the gym where a lot of them were evacuated to. A lot of my friends who ended up sheltering in just random places needed rides back to their apartments, to where they're living. So it's definitely been a long night.
A person was finally detained at around 3:45 a.m. on Sunday morning. The FBI, local, and state law enforcement worked together to track this person down. It was nearly 6 a.m. before Brown announced the shelter-in-place order lifted. The university has since said that it has canceled all finals, and many students are already on their way back home for Christmas break.
You said someone's been apprehended. What do we know about the shooter?
Yeah, the information has been slow to get out. Authorities have been pretty cautious because of the ongoing investigation. Law enforcement did yesterday pick up a person of interest, though. According to the Washington Post, sources briefed on the investigation say police picked up a 24-year-old Wisconsin man at a hotel about 30 miles outside of Providence. Police allegedly found 2 firearms in his possession. NBC News reports that the police were looking into the man's mental health history and potential ties to the university, but then late last night, officials announced that they were letting that person of interest go. The Rhode Island Attorney General said that the evidence initially pointed in the direction of that man, but that evidence now points in a different direction. Mayor Smiley said at the same press conference that he still believes the community is safe, though this obviously means the shooter is still at large somewhere.
The university has put out several statements, and President Trump has also released some statements. What did he say?
Yeah, in Washington, President Trump paid respects to the victims in the Brown University shooting attack and to others who were also victimized this weekend.
I want to just pay my respects to the people. Unfortunately, 2 are no longer with us. Brown University, 9 injured, and 2 are looking down on us right now from heaven.
Of course, it didn't take long for this tragedy to get political. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy appeared on CNN yesterday and blamed President Trump for the shooting.
This is not shocking because over the last year, President Trump has been engaged in a dizzying campaign to increase violence in this country. And I think you're unfortunately going to see the results of that on the streets of America.
It's worth noting that Rhode Island has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, and many have pointed to that fact and said that right now the focus should be on the victims. And on that point, we join those in praying for the victims and their families.
Well, a tragic weekend here and in Australia. Tim, thanks for reporting.
Thanks for having me.
Alleged MS-13 gang member Kilmar Abrego Garcia was released back onto the streets Friday, and he's now vowing to fight the Trump administration.
Daily Wire political reporter Cameron Arcan joins us now with the latest. Cameron, thanks for coming on. So we have yet another judge order here related to alleged human trafficker Abrego Garcia. This one is supposed to be more forceful than the others. First, what exactly did the judge order this time?
Yeah, this immigration saga just won't end here. So the U.S. District Judge Paulashinas, who was appointed by President Barack Obama back in 2016, ordered that Abrego Garcia, who, he's became so well known as, the Maryland man, should be released from ICE custody. He was being held at a processing center down in Pennsylvania. And the kicker is that this time, the judge ordered he cannot be redetained by ICE until the court conducts a hearing for a motion for a temporary restraining order. So for now, he's home free.
All right, so now he is out. And in fact, we've already heard a good bit from him. Tell us about that aspect of this. What have we heard from Abrego Garcia?
Yeah, so the response so far from him, has really turned quite a few heads. Some of his critics have said, this sounds like it's a political campaign. And he even appeared for a routine check-in with ICE in Baltimore on Friday. And he ended up delivering remarks in Spanish before a crowd of activists. His remarks essentially translated to the fact that he plans to fight the Trump administration. He said, quote, "I stand here today with my head held high. I will continue to fight and stand firm against all the injustices this government has done upon me." And even his legal team has also condemned the Trump administration, saying they need to also face consequences. This has all, of course, drawn a lot of criticism from those who have pointed to him being illegally in the country in the first place, since all the way back in 2011, and the allegations brought against him by the administration of human trafficking and allegedly being a member of the gang MS-13, as well as some domestic violence allegations from restraining orders in past years.
Right. Now, this order by the judge is, of course, controversial. The Trump administration is obviously not happy with it. What have we heard from them so far?
Yeah, so they're certainly not happy with this. Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin has called this a naked judicial activism, and the department is pledging to fight this tooth and nail in the courts. Now, the Trump team also continues to highlight allegations against Abrego Garcia. When the administration sent him back to his home country of El Salvador back in March, he was ordered back to the United States. But at that point, he was brought back on human smuggling charges stemming from a 2022 Tennessee traffic stop. Officials say that body camera footage showed him behind the wheel with 8 other passengers in tow. The group had been on the road for days as they made their way from Texas to Maryland, and they had no luggage in the car. A responding officer noted that he suspected a human trafficking situation, but they ultimately let him go with a citation for driving with an expired license at that time.
One last question before you go that involves another judge and another illegal immigrant accused of criminal behavior. U.S. District Judge Judith Levi from Detroit. She's getting a lot of blowback. She praised a Honduran immigrant and declined to extend his sentencing. Briefly, what happened there?
Yeah, so similar to the Abrego Garcia situation, this judge was appointed by President Barack Obama, and she spared an illegal immigrant from 2 more years in prison for those immigration crimes. But this is very important. He was sentenced in 2022 for raping a woman with cerebral palsy. He can now walk home as soon as July 2028. Because the sentence was not extended. The fact that the judge even referred to him as an ambassador for living up to our immigration restrictions has certainly raised a lot of eyebrows given the nature of why he's currently behind bars.
Well, not hard to see why there's a lot of outrage about that decision and those comments from the judge. Cameron, thanks so much for reporting.
Thank you.
Thanks for waking up with us. And if you're listening to the show, now you can watch for free on Daily Wire Plus. We'll be back later this evening with more news you need to know.